Greetings, this is Doc Griffin, your swing surgeon director of club fitting operations, and today I'm going to answer a question that Serge has asked me to tackle that came in from one of our viewers. I believe his name is Mr. Nelson, and he's asking a question regarding club sole width. And his question is, can you provide in general guidelines for the selection of iron sole width for the PPGS swing? I believe the PPGS swing generally produces a higher launch angle. Should we in general be selecting irons with a smaller sole width to compensate for the higher launch angle of the PPGS swing? It is my understanding that wider sole widths, while more forgiving, produce higher launch angles for irons and hybrids. This is a really good question. And the first thing that I would do would be to ask the question, why do you think that the wider sole width is more forgiving? I'm going to show you two clubs here. This one is a cavity back with a bit wider sole. This one is a muscle back with a more narrow sole. And I'll bet you the reason that the majority of you would say that the wider sole is more forgiving is because it has a larger sweet spot. Poppycock. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a pin. Now I know you probably can't see the end of this pin, but both of those clubs have the exact same size sweet spot. And folks, this is it right here. The business end of a needle. That's it. No more, no less, and only one sweet spot. The difference between the cavity back wider sole and the narrower club sole or muscle back, whatever you might have, basically is in the launching of the ball, because the wider sole moves the center of gravity back off of the face where the ball has met the face before the center of gravity of the club comes through, which does allow for a higher ball flight. Now my next question would be, well no, I still want to deal with something there first. The misconception that the muscle back is much harder to hit than the cavity back. I have covered this before in other videos. There is one aspect of a club head design that makes it easier to hit, more playable for a particular golfer than another. It has nothing to do with the muscle back or cavity back. It has to do with the amount of offset. If you get the club with the right amount of offset, everybody could play a blade. The reason being is it allows you the proper amount of time to get your hands through impact and get the club face back to square. Now, if you'll remember, we've talked about this before too. You got your muscle back, you got your cavity back. This club from heel to toe is longer than this club from heel to toe. And we've talked about this before on the little physics demonstration. If you take a weight and put it on a 6-inch string and twirl it, very easy. Take the same weight and put it on a longer string and twirl it. That rock has to, or the weight has to be moving infinitely faster to cover the same amount of territory. When you're talking about a golf club, it's coming from here back to square. The longer, bigger it is, the further the toe is from the axis of rotation, which is the hosel, the faster the toe has to be moving. So I ask you, which club is actually easier to square up? If you answered the smaller club, you're absolutely correct. But the marketplace or OEMs have tried to shove down your throat that the larger cavity back clubs are infinitely more forgiving on mishits. Nobody is ever going to hit the club dead center all the time. There's going to be some mishits. But one thing I can guarantee you, if you get your clubs properly fit to you correctly, you'll hit the center of gravity more often than you'll miss. Now, that being said, here is a bit of information you need to know. A mishit on the large cavity back compared to a mishit on the muscle back. Distance-wise, on a mishit of a ½ inch, you're looking at about 18 to 20 inches. Dispersionally, that means how is it flying, how much straighter. You're looking about 8 to 10 inches on a mishit. Folks, that just ain't much. If you get the right amount of offset, you can play any club. So I'm going to leave that now and go on to dealing with the actual question about sole width. Next question. I don't really subscribe to the premise that the PPGS swing produces a higher launch angle. I see lots of guys that come to me with PPGS swing that hit the ball low. Their club head speed is low, so therefore the ball doesn't impact the club, roll up the face, and launch. Tiger Woods, Dustin Johnson. If you've ever seen either one of those two boys hit a golf ball, they can hit a golf ball so high up that it's unbelievable, and they're not using the PPGS swing. Henrik Stenson, same thing, just flat, rockets the ball up. Next question would be, is it bad to hit an iron high? Aren't you generally hitting it into a green and wanting the ball to come in and sit down and stop? I think so. So we could argue the fact that maybe the PPGS produces a higher ball flight, whatever. That's irrelevant. A higher ball flight is good. The question that I want to really address is the width of sole and how it pertains to the particular golfer and his needs. Again, the wider the sole, the further the center of gravity is back off of the club face, which makes the ball or produces a higher launch angle, which is correct. And for guys with low club head speed, follow me, low club head speed, they are not generating the spin on the ball to get it to come up and launch high. So, for guys with low club head speed, a wide sole is definitely, I'll reiterate, it is definitely a positive thing to have. The lower your club head speed, the more help you need in getting the ball lofted up, flying on the proper launch angle, and going in the proper angle of descent. So to answer the question, to put it quite succinctly, whether you need wider sole or narrower sole has very little to do with whether you're using the PPGS swing or the flatter rotational swing. It has more to do with what you bring to the table as far as club head speed. If you have a lower club head speed and you need to hit the ball higher, then the wider sole would be a good thing. That's it for me for today. As always, we appreciate your continued support. Thank you so much for staying tuned and watching the blog. And if you have questions, please feel free to email them in such as Mr. Nelson did, give us a call, whatever you choose. And as always, remember, better golf is just a fit away.